Well, as we enjoy the change in scenery in Victoria with the changing of the guard, the changing of the Premier, for better or for worse, only time will tell, but it is at least a change. What we want to talk about here at the Aussie Wire as a focus on truth, freedom and hope is getting together and moving ahead, not just looking behind. Yes, there has to be accountability, but let's look ahead and let's look at what we can do, what still remains under our control. And someone who's been working on that for actually a number of years now and doing a wonderful job of getting around Australia and getting Australian stories told, getting the finger on the heartbeat, the pulse of the nation in a way that very few people ever have or ever will, is Michael Gray Griffith from Cafe Lockdown. He joins us here on the Aussie Wire. Michael, welcome.
Great to see you, Topher.
Now, where are you now? I see your goodness. Is that a bleeding bus I see behind you? Is that a jack I see under the front? What's going on here?
I'm on a resistance farm, and there's a few mechanics in the movement who are more than happy to work on Florence. But this one's in Port Macquarie with a guy called Bill Lober. And this is where we come when we're servicing Florence. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. So Florence, of course, is the name of the bus. And I see there...
Florence the Freedom Bus.
Florence the Freedom Bus. We can see just a little bit of a flag there. What's on that flag?
On the flag is 832, which is the fast becoming the symbol of the freedom movement. No one owns it. None of the groups owns it. It's basically for anyone to use. But it's just a way to unite us. It's our destination. If you Google it, you'll realize why. And that's the marketing. The marketing is we simply say, people come and go, what's 832? And you just go, Google it. And you allow them to absorb the punch themselves rather than being told. But it's working. I've got people with tattoos and number plates and it's quite incredible. We just drove one. It was written on the highway so it's quite incredible. Woody's taking it up too. He's pushing it.
Brilliant.
And America, it's starting to spread in America too. So
well, I happen to know what it refers to. I think it's a beautiful thing, but I'm not going to spoil the surprise. If you want to know what 832 is, you're going to have to Google it. Now, Florence, the bus has been busy, as have you guys. You've been out there with the Forest of the Fallen, the Billboard Battalion, supporting a lot of other groups as well. The question has to be asked, though, Michael. You've been on the road now for a couple of years doing this. Why?
Yeah, since Canberra.
Why?
When I was in Canberra, when Epic was first starting, I was looking around and I realized what was going on was incredible. People were coming from all over Australia on their own volition. And who were they? The mainstream media didn't seem to care. So I thought Australia needs to see this. So I just started sticking a camera in people's faces and going, as they drove into the camp, going, well, hi, what's your name and where you're from? And then everyone would cheer and you go, welcome in. And that got me more interested in, from my storytelling point of view, to understand why these people are here. And then when we left Canberra to come back, I reached the town of Orbost, and all these people came out to meet the bus and they wanted to tell their stories. And I remember telling my colleague, Cret, then, I think we could do this around Australia and just show Australians that in every corner of this incredible country, there's resistance to the narrative that's trying to engulf them. And so I'm trying to embolden people. And now, basically, I don't want to sound arrogant, but I'm almost like the historian of the freedom movement in a way, because I'm capturing these real stories. I don't edit them, so it's their complete voice. I share them to various hard drives, and they're for the future. Maybe in 400 or 500, 100 years, they might look back and go, "Wow, not everybody was compliant. There was a really healthy, determined movement."
Yeah. Look, it's something that very few people are willing to do. You mentioned Graham Hood there a moment ago. I don't know who's done more miles, you or Graham Hood, but I do know who's done more interviews. You've done way more interviews than me. You've done way more interviews than Graham. No disrespect to Graham. I love the guy.
Yeah, I'm up to about 1,500, but mine are different. You know what I mean? And I feel quite honored to do it actually, and I feel it's a real blessing. I've actually become quite, I don't know what's beyond this realm, but I feel that I'm quite blessed.
Yeah.
And I don't worry about too many other things. I just turn up at a town if
Mm-hmm.
I'm not with a group, and I just say I'm going to be here, and I stay there for a day or two,
Yeah.
and I record the story of anyone willing enough to speak.
Yeah.
And what I've learned now is that freedom of speech is more than a right. It's actually a sword. It's a weapon. It's a sword to stave off the encroaching darkness. And that's, I think, why they want to disarm us, because they know how
Yeah.
powerful it
Right.
is. But it's up to us to wield it. So every time I get someone talking, it's like, come on, take out your sword. That sounds rude, but the analogy works. There's a,
Yeah.
but but the other interesting thing is what I really love.
Mm.
Uh, a lot of the people get back to me and their lives are changed for speaking out.
Yeah.
Family members have reconnected,
Yeah.
that's segregated.
Yeah.
Other people have reached out to them, or
Mm.
themselves, they just feel like speaking out is the same as standing up. Suddenly,
Mm-hmm.
like yourself, Topher, I'm a free man and I'm going to face this world head on.
Yeah.
But you need to stand up to get there.
No, it's interesting you say that. I mean, I've been working on a book for the last little while. It'll be out before Christmas, but for me, there's been something really therapeutic about putting into words so much of what happened. The various stories that I haven't told anyone yet, and putting those into that book. Was incredibly therapeutic for me, but of course most people don't have that opportunity unless you come along. You're pretty much the only person. Most people wouldn't think to point a camera at themselves and live stream, and if they did, they'd feel like it went nowhere. Whereas at least with you, they really feel that their story is being recorded, that it's going to be a part of a
Mm,
repository of these stories. Now, we need to be careful what we say because we are trying to stay on YouTube. We're on our last legs on YouTube. And in fact, in this episode, we're going to be redacting certain things that have been said by other interviewees already for the YouTube version so we
mm,
don't get kicked off. And then, of course, Rumble and Twitter
mhm,
will get the full one. But without me having to
mm.
redact anything, what are some of the stories that have stood out for you?
Um, the people who have lost children,
Mm,
um, and some of the children are mature children. There was one woman in Yass who didn't want her daughter to get it. Her daughter was 49, very happy with her life, but she ended up with severe uh, tinnitus,
mm,
so severe it was like a jumbo jet in her ear.
mm,
And the doctors kept telling her it was in her head.
mm,
And so they ended up putting her in a mental home.
mm.
And it was just the complete destruction of this woman's life until she took a life in that nursing home. And here's the mother left with the remnants. And the other day, the, the, the other day, I'm at a gathering and I'm following the story of a tough single mother called Terry, whose mother, who lived with her for the last 12 years, passed away from the vax. And the mu- they her the woman who passed away, the grandmother, she was basically the second mother to her grandson, and the grandson apparently the only one he talked to was his grandmother. He adored her, and his last moments with her were giving her CPR, telling her not to leave. And Terry came to this gathering we were at, and she said, "Oh, her son's in the car and he's not very well." And you get in the car, and here's this utterly broken human being. And there was no need for this human being to be broken.
Yeah.
And there's not much you can say
Mm.
because you're a man of great words. What do you say?
No.
There's no
No.
words in
There's
the
no words.
in the language to
No.
fill in of a heart that broken.
No.
So I'm trying to encourage him to hold on and say,
Mm.
your grandmother's going to kick your ass if you get there too early. You've got to hold on for her. But this is what it is. Out
Mm.
here now, I'm a war correspondent.
Yeah.
It's carnage out here. And for some reason, Australians have just got their blinkers on and they're quite happy not to see it. But scratch the surface and it's a wreck.
So how do you look after yourself then? I know making Battleground Melbourne was incredibly taxing on me, just reliving all of that, hearing the
Mm,
stories of the 20 people that I interviewed. You've interviewed
mm,
1,500 or more. Now, a lot of them, I'm sure, are wonderful. Well, all of them, I'm sure, are wonderful people, and there would be happy elements to the story. But in a lot of those cases, the reason they feel they have a story to tell is because there's been loss of some
mm,
sort in some way. How do you look
mm.
after yourself in the middle of all of that?
Yeah, there's been some very difficult moments. Um, I try to think of myself uh, as sort of a story paramedic,
Mm,
and the hospital is online and it's recorded.
hmm
And so if I do that, then I'm like a conduit, and I feel like a paramedic that's got someone in the hospital. Okay, I've got you there. Good luck,
yeah,
and then I go
yeah,
back for the next one.
yeah.
Uh, People sometimes come up to me and they go, "Oh, I've got a story to tell." Okay, I'll just get my camera. They go, "No, I don't want to tell it." I go, "Do you want to audio?" "No, I just want to tell you." And
Mm,
I have to actually say, "I'm sorry,
yeah,
I'm not a counselor.
yeah, and you can't
If
just carry
if you
that
tell me
burden.
a story for it to go somewhere,
Hmm
then I can do what I'm doing.
hmm
If you just want me to store it,
mm
I'll
mm.
well,
No, I
I
hear you.
won't do very well, put it that way.
No, I hear you. I
So
hear you.
that's how I do it.
Now, out of
Yeah.
the 832 idea, something really quite beautiful has begun to spring up. People have really taken a hold of it as more than
Mm,
just a symbol to put on the side of their car or what have you, as much as the bus does look
mm.
great. I'll put the picture back up. The bus looks fantastic. But people are really starting to run with this now, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we have to remember that one of the most remarkable things about the freedom movement is like Stand in the Park,
Mm,
which was the first great gift,
mm,
literally went to every town. It was started by one man,
mm,
Brady Garner, a great man who went and stood in the park for months before finally someone else joined him.
mm,
And then he planted the seeds of the freedom movement with
mm,
his idea.
mm,
Then there's Selkie, who came up with the Forest of the Fallen, which is it's been planted all over the country. Every Saturday, Sunday, hundreds of them are going up now.
mm,
And and then we put out a call for a sign that united us all. And I put out three prerequisites. It had to fit on a sticker that a teenager could stick in their pocket
yep.
and stick it everywhere. It had to be unique to our movement
hmm
because I think we need to start. It's such a huge battle. We need to be identified as a standalone,
Mm,
not just copies of previous ones.
mm.
And you had to be able to write it on your neighbor's windscreen when he wasn't watching quickly. And the idea behind it I liked was if you came into a town and you saw it, you thought, okay, there's someone here on my side.
hmm
Or you saw someone wearing a cap, and at the
hmm
same time, too, it is something that all the freedom movement can use for merchandise. So
hmm
everyone can, because we don't. It's like a love heart or smile. It's the whole
Sure.
movement can use it. So hoodies selling it as merchandise and
Yep.
this,
Yep.
and that's the way to fund what we're doing.
Yep. Fantastic.
And we had thousands of people sending it in. The community was
Mm,
terrific,
mm.
but we were waiting for something that you just went, yes.
Yeah.
And then nothing quite did that. And I thought, we can't put it out if it's not that. And
Mm.
I almost went to despair when this young single mother said to me, "What about 832?" And I went, "What's that?" And she went, "Google it." And I went, and I just remember going, and then it just hit me. It
hmm
just, when you Google
hmm
it, if you don't know and you Google it,
hmm
it hits you. Your
Yeah.
shields aren't up and it gets deep.
Yeah.
And then that's how it works. And people are telling me that, they're contacting me or other people we know, and they're saying that's how it's affecting them. It really
Mm.
hits them.
Mm.
So anyway, there's another group in Kerrang now, um, who sort of formed around a wonderful man called Moose,
Mm.
um, who basically was the darling of the town. He helped with everyone with everything. He was a volunteer for all the different organizations. He was an electrician, and he just loved the town.
Mm.
But he refused to get jabbed, so for a period he's the leper,
Mm.
and that is starting to change now, simply
Okay,
through
good.
his strength of character
Mm.
and his determination to uh, to move forward. And his group got together and said they wanted to do something. So they thought they'd set up an 832 gathering.
Mm.
And they picked a small town, which no one has heard of, called Quambatook.
Mm.
But you've heard of it.
I have. I've been to the tractor pull at Quambatook.
It was interesting. So, and the town's really not doing very well.
Mm.
And they said, and it's not an event, it's just a gathering of like-minded people to come
Sure.
together to hang out for a couple of days
Mm-hmm.
and talk, network,
Mm-hmm.
enjoy each other's company. Musos turned up, listened to a few speeches, practice speeches
Yeah.
for when you go out to the thing.
Yep.
What is practice? and really important, which is what I told them to do, is bounce ideas around because who knows if the next Forest of the Fallen is in
Yeah.
amongst this community just
Yeah.
waiting to be born. And so they had about 250 people over the
Wow.
few days, to about 300 with some people coming and going.
Mm.
Some people from 500 kilometers away. And the other thing that happened was locals came in inquiring what was going on, and they actually
Mm.
did remain.
Mm.
The but the beautiful thing was I came up at the people were up till 4 in the morning, and I'm talking Dr. Robert Peterson,
Yeah.
from Seymour,
Yeah.
and people are just talking in this time where they're trying to silence us.
Mm.
These people were like pit ponies who had been brought out of the coal mine for a night, and they're in this field, and they can't stop running.
Yeah.
And that's what it was like. It's actually quite beautiful. I think it's therapeutic. I think it'll help us go from a community where we're together like this to get closer
Mm.
until we're a fist and we're
Mm.
something to really deal with.
Mm.
And I don't mean any violence like that, but I look at the Jews who've been persecuted for
Mm.
centuries, how they work, and I
Mm.
think that's a real
And they
model
stick
we should look
together.
to follow.
Yeah.
And in fact, I can't believe you're not Jewish. You're a great businessman. But anyway,
I wish I were a great businessman.
I think our
Sadly, my track
community
record says
did a
otherwise.
great, I think a great new idea that could help us uh, thrive after the disinformation bill, which I believe they will pass. This is how we could move forward.
Mm.
And what happens is instead of just liking things on Facebook, we'll be face to face.
Mm.
And that's a whole different energy. You
Mm.
yourself in that environment would thrive, Topher.
I'd
With
love
your
it.
intellect, your charm, you would really thrive.
Now, you sounds like you're lining up to ask me for a favour. You've complimented me as a good businessman. You've said that I'm charming. Listen, we're gonna move on before he hits me up for whatever it is he's lining me up for. 832 is actually becoming a little bit of a movement. This is beginning to happen now.
Yeah.
People are starting their own 832 groups. There is an 832 muster page on Facebook. It's a very fledgling thing. There is nothing official here for us to kind of promote. We're not promoting anything really. This is a genuinely organic thing. But for those who are interested, you want to find out more about these 832 groups, jump onto Facebook. I'm sure there'll be Telegram pages and all sorts of other things popping up all over the place for 832. Well, Michael Gray Griffith, thank you so much for being my guest today on the
Oh,
Aussie
can I
Wire.
just
Yeah?
say, I'm in Port Macquarie at the moment. We're going to spend a few days working on Florence.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but then we'll be hanging around the Queensland, New South Wales area
Yep.
and back until we make our way to Sydney and things. So just you'll find us on
Mm-hmm.
cafelockdown.com. There's an interactive map. You can find
Mm-hmm.
out where we are. If you want to tell your story, if you want to attack the silence with the gift of your voice, please reach out.
Fantastic. Michael
Thank
Gray
you so much for
Griffith,
having me on, Topher. I really appreciate it.
our pleasure. See you next time.